Hey everyone, welcome back to Context Window. For the last decade, we've basically been told one thing. Powerful AI lives far away in these massive, power-hungry data centers. But that's changing. A huge power shift is happening right now, decoupling AI from the cloud. In this explainer, we've filtered through all the noise to show you exactly why moving intelligence from those distant servers directly into your hands is such a game changer.
And this quote just hits it perfectly, right? It really sets the stage. This isn't just a technical upgrade we're talking about. It's a fundamental change in who controls our most personal information. It's about a future where your data, your secrets, are processed right where they're created.
So why the big shift? Well, it turns out the all-powerful cloud, the very thing that made this whole AI revolution possible, is now becoming its biggest bottleneck. Let's really break down why the old way of doing things just isn't cutting it anymore.
For years, we've been living with this, fragile dependency on the cloud. Think about it. You're traveling somewhere remote and your translation app just dies because you have no signal. Or maybe your car's driver assist gets a little choppy in a tunnel. Why? Because the brain doing the work is hundreds, maybe thousands of miles away. The Edge AI way completely flips that script. The processing happens locally, the response is instantaneous, and hey, since your data never has to leave your device, it is private by default.
So what was the big aha moment? What made this all possible? Honestly, it came down to physics. Engineers figured out that the energy wasted just sending data back and forth to the cloud was often way more than it would take to just process it locally, if you had the right kind of chip. And this discovery led to a mind-blowing 10,000 times efficiency advantage for on-device processing. That's not just a small improvement, that is a full-blown revolution.
So, the real solution to the cloud's problems isn't just a bigger, faster cloud. It's about moving the intelligence to where we are. It's about, quite literally, putting a genius in your pocket. Let me break this down with an analogy to make it really click.
Okay, imagine you're trying to find a book. In the old way, traditional programming, the librarian was super rigid. They just followed a simple if-then manual. If you asked for something nuanced, like, find me a book that feels like a rainy Tuesday in Paris, they just stare at you blankly. Then came the cloud AI way. Suddenly, the librarian is a genius, but they've moved to a library in another country. So you have to mail them your question and you'll get a brilliant answer back, but it's going to be delayed. Plus, who knows who reads your mail along the way. Now we have the Edge AI way. It's like having that same genius librarian living right there in your house. They know you, their collection is tailored just for you, and the conversation is instant and totally completely private. So, we pop open the hood. How does this actually work? How do you shrink a genius down and fit it in your pocket? Well, it really boils down to 4 key technological breakthroughs, 4 magic ingredients that all have to work together perfectly.
First, you need a whole new kind of AI, which we'll call the specialist. But to get it onto your device, you need a shrink ray to make it small enough to fit. Once it's on there, you need a super powerful engine to run it at lightning speed. And of course, to make it smart in the first place, it needs a mentor to train it in the most efficient way possible.
So what's the real difference between those huge cloud models and these new smaller ones? The key is, it's not about being dumber, it's about being a specialist. Think of a big large language model like a Swiss Army knife. It's pretty good at a lot of different things. But a small language model, that's a surgeon's scalpel. It's designed to do one specific task with absolute precision at basically zero cost and in an instant.
Okay, so how do you get that scalpel to actually fit on your phone? That's where our shrink ray, a process called quantization, comes in. You see, in the cloud, AI models use these huge, really high precision numbers to think. Quantization is a mathematical trick that basically crushes these big, complicated numbers into much smaller, more efficient integers. It's what makes it possible to fit a truly powerful AI right in the palm of your hand. And this visual just shows it perfectly. We're going from a really complex 32-bit number to a much simpler 8-bit one. And this one step can shrink the model's size by a factor of 8, usually without losing any noticeable accuracy. It really is the magic trick that makes all of on-device AI even feasible.
And for those of you who want to see the mechanics, this is it. This simple-looking formula is the powerhouse that lets us shrink these massive AI models without losing what makes them so smart.
But look, software is only half the battle. You need the right hardware to make it all go fast. And that's the NPU, the Neural Processing Unit. If a regular CPU is like trying to paint a giant wall with a tiny little brush, 1 pixel at a time, the NPU is like a paint roller.
It's built from the ground up to do thousands of AI calculations all at once, in parallel. That's what gets us those insane millisecond response times. So, we've talked about the how, but now let's get to the most important part, the so what. What does all this amazing tech actually mean for our daily lives? Well, it means we're heading toward what you could call a sovereign future, where you're in control.
But first, it's really important to know this didn't just happen overnight. This revolution we're seeing today is built on decades of quiet innovation. It really started with things like Qualcomm's Hexagon processor way back in 2007, then hit a huge milestone with Apple's first neural engine in 2017, and now it's just accelerating like crazy with next-gen chips built specifically for AI.
Okay, so why is this so critical? Let's ground this in a real life-or-death situation. Imagine a wearable sensor for a diabetic patient. It's running a local AI, a tiny, specialized model that gives instant life-saving advice on insulin dosage. It works on the subway, on a plane, in the middle of nowhere. This is something the cloud simply cannot do safely or reliably, period.
Or what about financial security? Right now, scammers are using AI to clone voices in real time. A cloud security system is just too slow to stop it. But an on-device AI can detect those subtle behavioral signals that you're being scammed, like a slight hesitation before a bank transfer. And it can intervene in milliseconds, before your money is gone. It's like having a real-time guardian right on your phone.
But it's not all good news. With all this power comes a really new, tricky challenge, the shadow agent crisis. As employees start using their own powerful local AIs at work, they can accidentally create these invisible pipelines for sensitive company data to leak out. So it protects you from the outside world, but it creates brand new governance problems on the inside that we're only now starting to figure out.
Now, if all this has you inspired and you want to start building yourself, these are the top frameworks to look into right now. Doesn't matter if you're a seasoned developer or a total beginner, tools like Google's LiteRT, Allama, and LM Studio make it incredibly easy to start experimenting with on-device AI today.
So where is all of this headed? The next big step is something called ambient intelligence. This is the future where the device itself just fades away, and AI dissolves into the background of our world. We're talking about self-healing cities where the roads can detect potholes and order their own repairs, or hyper-personalized healthcare, where your watch can predict exactly how you'll respond to a new medicine. Which brings us to our last and most critical question. As this incredibly powerful AI becomes ambient, ubiquitous, and totally invisible, how do we make sure we can still govern the secrets it keeps? That's the real challenge that will define the next decade. That wraps up our deep dive into Edge AI. I've added the links to the frameworks mentioned in this document to the description below, so you can check them out yourself. We're building this channel on your curiosity, so if you have ideas for the next topic we should feed into the engine, drop a comment below. See you in the next one.